As Christian business owners, we are called to serve others and steward our God-given talents wisely. However, many of us struggle with feeling obligated to offer our work for free or at a discount, especially to fellow believers. While generosity is a virtue, failing to establish healthy business boundaries can lead to burnout, financial strain, and even resentment. So how do we balance generosity with sustainability? How do we honor God in our business without undervaluing the skill He has given us? This episode explores why Christian business owners often feel pressured to be nice at their own expense and how to establish boundaries without guilt. Welcome to the 17:6 podcast, where we help you turn the world upside down by the Lordship of Christ. I'm Trevor.
I'm Zach.
And we did a little bit of a different thing. We've got a little bit of a cold open now.
Yes, sir.
We're trying to professionalize our services. And I think that's maybe, I don't know, let us know what you think of it. I'm just going to tell you, comment below if you liked the cold open. If you did, then we can start doing more of those. But if not, then we'll just stop doing them because, it's just a lot of effort.
It is a lot of effort.
Yeah, it is. Also, we're doing a different episode, a different type of episode today. It's a how-to episode, DIY, not really DIY, but so I don't know if the flow is going to flow in this episode. We were kind of preparing for it. Man, it's a different beast to tackle than what we're used to doing. So if there's dead space, we apologize, but bear with us.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be helpful. Hopefully it's not too esoteric. I think that's the correct word, because we're just kind of talking about maybe a certain type of Christian. I don't know. It could apply for everything.
I think it could broadly apply.
Okay.
Yet some Christians might have to do a little more work to apply it to their situation.
Yeah, good. So don't check out. There's application for everyone here. Okay. All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
So I assume, though we didn't talk about it as we were working on this episode, that there is a joke.
There's always a joke.
All right. Let's just do it.
Man, this is another one I'm torn between two.
Okay.
I'll go with this one. What would you use to cut the ocean in half?
Land.
It's good. It's good. That's actually a really good joke.
No.
That wasn't it. That wasn't the punchline. Okay.
Obviously, it's a seesaw.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Good job.
That concludes today's joke.
Good job. All right. Well, on top of being a different episode, we also haven't recorded in 3 weeks. You're not going to know that, listener.
No.
But it's been 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I forgot what I was doing, how to prepare. We forgot how to hit record. It took our producer Amos over here a little bit, like, how do I start up this thing?
You just made me double, triple check. Recording. I panicked momentarily.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, so let's kind of start it off. The whole point of this episode is some things that I've ran into as a business owner, and as a business owner, maybe you've ran into it as well. It's this idea of, we feel like we have to be overly nice as Christian business owners, and that overly niceness kind of flows into maybe we're giving our services away for free,
right?
Which then hurts us as business owners, hurts our family because we can't take care of them, and the people around us as well. And if we have team members that depend on us, depend on a paycheck from our business, hurts them as well, potentially. So how do we stop being too nice as Christian business owners without compromising our faith?
Right.
That's really the question.
Yes. Real quick story, because one time I was on the other side where I was in the wrong. I don't know if it wasn't like I was super opinionated about this, but this is back when I was freshly married, super poor, working at McDonald's. And we had a problem with our house. We need to have it inspected and that kind of thing. There's a guy at church who did that kind of thing. He did home inspections, and I asked him about that. Like, what do I need to, look for? And can you come and do this? And he was very wise and gently told me, I'm not going to do that for free for you. Like, I know you're a poor dude working at McDonald's, but no. So he had kind of figured that out.
That's great.
But that was part of the learning curve for me. Is like, oh, just because someone's a Christian and they do something useful for the world doesn't mean they're going to do it for me for me for free.
Yes. Yeah. And you can then, for business owners, I fall into the category where I feel like I have to do it for free, though no one's expecting it. I feel like I have to. So I don't know this perfectly. This is just a new thing that I've come across in my life, owning my own business, and some things that I've had to think through, and we've talked about it outside of episodes, of course, when we get together. And this goes back to just having a wise counsel around you, having other men around you, and asking questions and looking for their feedback and getting counsel from them. So that's where this kind of came out of.
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing a monthly recap video. I don't want to ramble, but I was doing a monthly recap video for my business. So what I do is at the end of every month, I go through my calendar, I record myself talking about the things that I've done this month. And I started realizing I'm giving a lot of things away for free. Like, why do I feel like this? And this is hurting my business, and this is hurting my family. Like, I couldn't survive doing this on this month, doing it this much every month. So then we talked about it, and this episode came up. So yeah. So yeah, again, I don't know about this. I don't know. Other people may have other points that we haven't thought of, but this is something that we've come into, I don't know, face to face with.
Yeah. Real quick, just side point.
Yeah.
We're not going to spend too long on.
Right.
But the practice of monthly reflecting on how things are going and then figuring out, oh, this is a problem, I need to work on this. That's a really wise action. That would be broadly applicable to all Christians.
That's a good point. Hey, look at that. Didn't even have that in our show notes.
There you go. So now back to the
getting value before the episode. Okay, so let's start off with this question. Why is this a common struggle for Christian business owners, of feeling like they have to give away their business or services or products for free to other brothers or sisters? Because I think that's where it comes down to. It's not giving away always your service for free to other people. It's really Christians.
Yeah.
When you're giving it away, working with other Christians. So Christian values emphasize generosity and helping others, which then leads to the pressure to give away our services to fellow believers.
Right.
So that's where it comes down to.
Yeah. There's a sense of, if I'm actually profiting from this, is that a bad thing?
Right. So really, in my opinion, the underlying reason for that is there's a misinterpretation of the biblical teaching on giving love and sacrifice.
Right.
I think that's where it comes down to. We take it too far. Maybe the way we've been taught didn't mean it this way, but in our minds, we have taken it to the extreme.
Right. And I think, so here's my theory on why this is prevalent in the church. And I think it's because the way that the scriptures are laid out, you have the Old Testament, which if you read the Old Testament, you have this idea that wealth is a good thing.
Right.
And there are some warnings in it that you don't want to put all of your trust in wealth, and you don't want to hoard and that kind of thing. There are those warnings issued throughout the Old Testament. But evidently, many Jews missed those parts of it, and they hadn't read the book of Job and figured out the caveats and all that stuff. So when the New Testament comes around, there's this emphasis trying to correct the Jews' misinterpretation of the Old Testament on wealth. And as you do when you are trying to be persuasive, is you use strong statements. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. We see that all throughout the Bible. You use strong statements, and they're trying to correct this misinterpretation on wealth. So the dangers of wealth, which are legitimate, are then emphasized. And then what happens is Christians then spend all their time in the New Testament. And so all they're hearing are these, not overcorrection in a bad way, but these corrections. And then therefore they overcorrect and think that, oh man, wealth is just this horrible, dangerous thing. Then if I'm, actually gaining wealth from my business practice, then I must be doing something immoral or something like that.
No, you're 100% right. So the solution to this misinterpretation is to have a healthy balance of Old Testament, New Testament, right? We need to be saturated in all of Scripture. Yeah.
It's all God's word.
Absolutely. So maybe when you're like face to face with a believer that's coming to you, that's not expecting your service for free, not expecting your product for free, but you feel like you need to give it away for free because you have this guilt in your mind. Something that I've realized as we were working through this episode, is 2 Corinthians 9:7 gives us a really good litmus test. it talks about as as we are giving, we should be a cheerful giver. So if there's any guilt behind that giving, if there's any, you feel like you're reluctantly giving this product or service away, you probably shouldn't do that, because that would be sin at that point. You're not giving it away cheerfully. You're not giving it away out of faith. So I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, for sure.
That helps me think through it for sure. As I'm helping other believers in my business, this is a good place to start. Also, something to realize, as you just stated, one, wealth is not unbiblical. It's not sin, but also getting paid for your work is not sin either. We see that in the New Testament. 1 Timothy 5:18, the worker's worth its wages. Paul even goes back to Deuteronomy. He goes back to Deuteronomy and takes out an animal husbandry law and proves that, like, don't muzzle the ox while it's treading the grain, meaning like you need to be paid for what you're working. Don't be starved.
And right there, you even see Paul is implying that the ethic on wealth has not changed from Old Testament to New Testament, because he's grounding his New Testament ethic on wealth from the Old Testament.
Exactly. It's a great point. Great point.
So it wasn't like, God, thought wealth was a good thing in the Old Testament. He's like, oh, you know what? These guys aren't very good with wealth. They're kind of, so he changed his mind in the New Testament.
Right. Also, we're called to be stewards of what God has given us, and not self-imposed poverty. So what goes around in the back of my mind a lot is the parable in Matthew 25 of the parable of the talents, where this rich ruler gives a certain amount of talent money to his servants and says, I'm going away, use these talents, invest in them. Well, he doesn't tell them to invest, but he just gives it to them, and they steward them well. The first two double, and they are given more. The last guy is given one talent. He just buries it and doesn't do anything with it. When the rich ruler comes back, he takes it away and gives it to the guy that had 10 talents to begin with, who doubled it. So I think that tells us right there that what God has given us, talents meaning money then, but just think about the traits God has given us, the personality, the gifts he's given us. We should be stewarding those well and trying to multiply those as much as possible. So think about that as you're coming face to face with this idea. I'm like, oh gosh, do I have to give this? Am I supposed to give this away? Like, I feel like I should. I don't know. Like, of course, be praying about that, but also have that in the back of your mind. It's okay it's okay to get paid for these things, and you should be stewarding well.
Right. You mentioned the whole self-imposed poverty thing.
Yes.
Just a quick clarification. So while, generally speaking, we're talking about, like, we'll explain this more in the episode, but the idea of accumulating wealth, but the Lord will call some people to be like John the Baptist. So there will be some self-imposed poverty, but that's not the norm.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, it's, going the direction of, we want to be building up wealth for certain purposes.
Yes. No, I'm glad you clarified that. Thank you. The next point is loving your neighbor as yourself, so, I mean, that's it, just adhering to loving your neighbor as yourself. So if you're loving your neighbor, that means you shouldn't be undervaluing and making yourself poor,
right?
To give away everything to your neighbor. Like, that's not adhering to Mark 12:30-31. I don't think. Love your neighbor as yourself. So you're not going to go hungry all the time. I mean, there may be points, like you just said, the Lord may call you to extreme self-sacrifice in your moments in life, and that's great. But the norm, you don't need to be starving yourself to give away your product or service.
Right. So something that I've thought through on this point, sometimes, well, I'll just say it this way. There are different thresholds for how much self-sacrifice we can accomplish and still be joyful and that kind of thing. So especially as leaders of our household, we have to kind of think through how much sacrifice can, if I'm wanting to love my children as I love myself, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to treat them the way I treat myself. So, particularly for adults or older kids and that kind of thing, there might be a season of, hey, we're going to fast for a couple of days or something like that. And I would not apply that to my younger kids, right? So we're kind of taking that same idea of if we are going to be particularly generous and self-sacrificial, especially if we have kids, we had to kind of think through, what kind of if I'm going to be loving them the way I love myself, that's not necessarily the same thing as treating them the way that I'm willing to be treated. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So quick little clarification there too.
That's great. So that's kind of like our first point. So why is this a common struggle for Christian business owners? I think that's the reason. There's a misunderstanding of love, generosity, sacrifice. Now, I want to talk about why we may feel compelled. Some things that went through my mind as I'm helping other Christians with, I don't know, technology related issues, I guess. And what goes through my mind and why I ended up giving away those services for free, and maybe some pushback on that as we're working through these. So you may have other things arise in your life that you question, or that prompts you to give away your product. Makes you feel like you're obligated to give away your products for free. But these are things for me. So it's easy for me, and this isn't just for other Christians, giving services to other Christians. This is in general. It's easy for me to do this job, so I feel bad for charging for it. You feel like, I don't know, you may feel like you're ripping people off if you charge a large amount for your service. Like, I think we have to realize that we have to value our expertise. How long did it take you to get to that point to make it an easy job?
Yeah. You can also kind of think through, how much time am I saving them?
Yeah.
It may only take you, 30 minutes or whatever, but you save them 30 hours.
Right. Yeah, we just went through this before this episode started. We were looking at a tool to maybe speed up some content creation. Right. And it was going to cost us a certain amount. Like, well, that makes total sense, because we're going to be spending hours a week doing this exact same thing.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, because our time's worth money. So think through it in that aspect as well.
Right.
Let's see. So I feel like I should help everyone who asks. This is huge in my life. Like, somebody asks for help, I feel terrible for saying no. This may be not even just giving away something. Maybe it's just, you have a client that you're like, I mean, yeah, I could help them out. I just don't really want to do the job because it's not my expertise. I can make them successful, but it's just not where I want to be at in my job. But you feel like you have to help them.
Right.
We're called to generosity, and it's good, but we're also called to steward our resources wisely.
Right.
So me helping everybody and anybody, that's not wisely using my time. And that hurts my business in the long-term view, and possibly my family, because, I could be aggravated at that point because I'm working with somebody that I didn't really want to work with.
Sure.
So do you have anything else? Do you have any thoughts on that?
All right. I'm not sure where my little tangent is going to fit best. So
this looks like a good place right here.
You think so?
I don't know.
Let's go to
it's
the next
number
point.
3. Yeah. It's number 3. Okay. So, the greedy part, is that the point you're talking about?
Yeah. I think
okay. I agree. The next thing is, you don't want to charge a brother or sister. Maybe you're heavily discounting. Maybe you're giving it away for free because you don't want to seem greedy.
Oh, that one's a big one right there.
So you're judging. So you're kind of like making this self-imposed judgment on yourself through their eyes.
They think that I'm greedy
because I'm asking for money to give them a product or service that I make them do. But what is greed? Like, I think maybe understanding what greed is, it's this excessive desire for wealth at the expense of others. And I don't think running a business always results in greed. You asking for money for a service is not greed. That's just, the worker's worth its wages.
Yeah. And so to logically apply that across the board, it could be flipped around to where this person's asking me for a service, and it's not like when they come up to you, it's not like you're like, man, this person's lazy. They're not willing to put in all the hours to develop this skill.
Right.
But for some reason we feel like, but if we charge them so they don't have to learn the skill, that now I'm greedy somehow.
Exactly. Yeah. It goes back to understanding that you're an expert in your area. You know your craft. And so saving them time. That's a good point. If they're not willing to learn it, does that make them lazy and slothful? Proverbs says a lot about those types of people. Yeah. But it doesn't. It doesn't make that.
You can turn the argument around real fast. But not that when we're feeling this, not that we're actually, going through a logical course of thinking. That's just how our feelings are leading us.
Exactly. So on top of that, what does it mean to love money? So we have greed, we have loving money. 1 Timothy 6:10 means says the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. But I would say that money itself is a tool. So it's it's neutral, if you will, like,
Yeah.
because it's a tool. It depends on how you use that tool, develops into sin or not sin.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love the imagery of a tool, right?
Right.
Like if I have a hammer and I just make everything about, I have a hammer, I'm going to get 2 hammers, but I'm not actually going to go hammer any nails in, then
Right.
that's the problem.
Exactly.
Right? I don't want to have a hammer collection. That's not the
Exactly.
point, but I definitely want to go, nail some boards in or do whatever I need to do.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all how you use it. Just because you are desiring to make money off your product doesn't mean that you love money, doesn't mean that you're greedy. Charging appropriately allows you to provide for your family and to be generous when God calls you to be generous. So I think that's a big one that as a business owner, I have to realize if I'm really charging for all my services and I'm able to make a profit and I have that profit saved back, I have this in the back of my mind that, I can use this when God calls me to be more generous. Like I have this ready to go. I have capital ready to go to help somebody or to do something bigger than I could have realized. So that's also a really good point. And the last point I have on this greediness is, and we kind of talked about it, they may think you're greedy, but they may really think you're greedy. You might have points where you do have a brother or sister expecting that free service or product.
Yeah.
That's the exception to the rule, in my opinion. I don't think most people that come and ask you that go to your church or that are Christian are expecting it at a discount rate.
And most of those people, not all of them,
Yeah.
most of them are like, the younger Zach, who are immature. They just haven't really lived life in adulthood long enough to realize, I can't just go expect free service from people.
Exactly. So if they think you're greedy, I mean, that's on them. Like, you need to examine your heart and pray. And I mean, if you're really concerned about being greedy, the Lord is going to show you if you are. I know that is that's a normal prayer in my life. I don't want to be consumed by money. I don't want to be consumed by wealth, but I do want to be able to provide for my children and my children's children, which kind of goes into this whole next issue.
Yeah. We can hit that up in the next episode.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it feels, maybe you're also thinking, this next point is, it feels wrong to charge a fellow believer. But again, this goes back to Paul talks about the worker's worthy of his wage. You have to realize this.
And that is in the context of believers too.
Right.
So
Fantastic point. And then discounting too often. So if you're just discounting everybody, if you're just discounting every Christian that comes and asks for help, even though they're not expecting it, but you feel obligated to do it, it's just going to hurt your business. It's going to hurt your family. It's going to hurt your clients, and it devalues your service.
Yeah.
So,
and soon enough, you won't be doing that service anymore because you'll need to find some other way to make some
You're
money.
going to be back to a 9-to-5 job, and that's not what you want to do.
Right.
So those are the things that go through my mind, and some things that I have struggled with within this last 1.5, 2 years that I've kind of been doing this on my own. I guess it's 1.5 years that I've been doing it all on my own, and that I've had to work through. I'm not perfect at it. I still struggle with these things, but like thinking through it and talking with you guys, it's helped me understand some things. I think Amos gave some really good application that we're going to get into at the end of this episode, that hopefully it helps everybody. So let's go with maybe setting up some healthy boundaries. So we've talked about the struggles. We've talked about like why this arises in our mind, in our heart. Let's talk about some boundaries. Like, how do we serve without undermining our business? So I think a good way to start is separating your business from personal help. That's a good first way to start. Know when you're at your office and sitting there and you're a business owner compared to going over to somebody else's house and helping them.
Right.
So make sure there's a healthy distinction between that. I think it's also wise to, maybe if you do want to give away services, products, your time, set aside a set amount of time or dollars that you're willing to give away for that month. You don't have to stay with it, but just prepare that in your mind.
For sure. Yeah. That's just being proactive.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Jesus even talks about this in Luke 14, when he talks about, it's actually the main subject is the cost of discipleship, but he he kind of uses an analogy of a man who's trying to build a tower or something that.
Yeah.
He says, does not the man first sit down and calculate the cost before he actually starts doing this? And the same thing with our generosity and that kind of thing is not to say that we can't ever take care of spontaneous needs, but we need to count the cost.
Exactly.
Of that. We can't just, be irresponsible and if Jesus in Luke 14 is suggesting counting the cost is a good thing, then we need to have that mindset.
Absolutely. That's stewarding with wisdom at that point. So this is kind of where Amos, our producer, really helped me think through something. Treat each job as a job. Don't just say, hey, yeah, I'm going to do that for you, even though they're not expecting it for free. And you just feel generously like you're going to give this to them. Still treat each job as a job. So before you tell them that you're going to give this to them, take some time, write out exactly what you're doing for them and the service that you're providing for them. If it's a simple one-off service, just sit down, make up an agreement, because just because we're regenerate doesn't mean we have perfect memories. You know, I think Douglas Wilson said that. I thought it was fantastic. So I think there should be an agreement between two brothers, or, you know, two Christians, two believers. And then as you're sitting down and writing this out, you may realize like, oh man, I can't give this away for free. Like I can do a discount, but like this is going to take a lot longer than I originally thought. So one, you haven't told the guy or believer that you're doing this for free. You've taken some time, you sat back, you were wise about how you were going to plan this, or you made a strategy. So you used wisdom. And so then when you come to the table and you sit down and you guys sign this agreement, it's all right there in front of everybody. And he knows your expectations and you know your own expectations. So I think that's a really good thing. The second thing is maybe trade services. If you're helping another business, so like a business to business, that's what I mainly do. Trade services out if you don't feel like charging.
Yeah, I thought this was monetary. A great idea.
I like this. I've done this before with some coffee, which, I mean, it helped me out because I didn't want to buy a ton of coffee, you know. And this guy needed some work on his website. He wanted some special thing made on it. I'm like, man, how about we just trade some coffee for my work? And so I was able to price appropriately, and he was able to sell his coffee appropriately, and it helped both of us out.
Praise the Lord. I love that idea so much. Also with that, if someone comes to you and you're trying to work that arrangement out, there's a possibility that you're actually helping them see value that they can offer that they weren't aware it was a valuable thing, a valuable skill.
That's a good point. That's a great point. Fantastic. So let's see. The next point, communicating boundaries. So do we need to go to your point?
Let's go to my point first. All right. So there are some, I guess, being clear on what the other obligations are, what our obligations are as Christians. So we can't be so generous that we can't take care of these other obligations that we have. And you've already mentioned a big one. So was it 1 Timothy 5:8 says that a person who does not provide for the members of his own household is worse than an unbeliever.
Yes.
And that's a really important thing to keep in mind. So if you're giving away so much that you're not able to provide for the members of your household. Now, what does provide mean? Because some people get kind of crazy, like, oh, if you're not taking your kids on 3 vacations a year, then you're not really providing for them. Right. Like that's just dumb.
Yeah.
But reasonable, you know, we want to make sure our kids are, you know, their health is taken care of, their education is taken care of, those kinds of things. You need to provide for those. And if you're being so generous that you're not doing that, then you are worse than an unbeliever. So like if you have two options before you, like not believing in the gospel or not taking care of my family, then not believing in the gospel is the better option.
Exactly.
Which is still a damning option, but you understand the point.
Yes.
So Paul uses very, very strong language there. So kind of just elaborating on that a little more. If you go to Proverbs 13:22, a righteous man, I'm losing the verse now. A righteous man has an inheritance,
leaves an inheritance
for his children's children.
Absolutely.
So if you are thinking for your grandchildren to leave them some sort of wealth, that does not necessarily mean cash money.
Right.
But it doesn't just mean a spiritual inheritance.
Exactly.
Like it actually means a material inheritance of some sort.
Yes.
Whether it's land or a business or whatever it is. But you should have that kind of mindset. And if you have that kind of mindset, it's not that you are greedy and hoarding and doing all that kind of stuff and you have a love for money because you're, you know, thinking that far out and being wise that far out. That just means that you're being biblical, right?
There's a hierarchy of needs. As a man, you're a husband and you're a father. Like those are that in my mind, that's your hierarchy. Take care of that and then your neighbor. So
don't be so generous in giving out wealth right now that you aren't taking care of your grandchildren.
Exactly.
Another one is we see in 1 Corinthians 16:2 that there is an emphasis on giving to the church on the Lord's Day. So you want to think through that as well. Generous towards the church. A third one is Proverbs 21:20, talks about saving. Be like the ant who's preparing for the next season. Kind of thinking through that. And
Yes.
that parable of the talents can be kind of the same way.
Yes.
So we had to also caution between, making money our security rather than God. So there is a caution there. But,
Exactly.
But Proverbs definitely views saving as a good thing. And then a fourth category this is Proverbs 3:9-10, but also 1 Timothy 6:17 talks about he gives us some wealth to just enjoy.
That's good.
Food and drink and that kind of thing.
Right.
So if you go and buy food and buy drink, that why am I doing this? Is it's beyond just what I need for health. It's just to enjoy. That is a perfectly acceptable thing, and you're not being greedy by doing that.
That's great. I was thinking thought came into my mind, this idea, there's a parable in the Gospels where this rich man builds a lot of storehouses and he just sets back. It's like, oh yeah, I got them all stored up. And then what was your third point on that one? Oh man, I forgot. What was your third point on the thing that you just said?
I went out of order. Was it giving to the church on the Lord's Day or saving some?
Saving some. The difference between what you're talking about in Proverbs, in my opinion, and then that parable is that the man who wrote Proverbs is getting wisdom by fearing the Lord first. So like that's his foundation. The man that built these storehouses to store up these things was not fearing the Lord. Beginning wisdom is the fear of the Lord. So I think they're just being saturated in both the Old Testament and the New Testament. So you see the terrible outcome that this guy just stored up things for no real reason, and wasn't able to use it because he wasn't honoring God. But the man in Proverbs is honoring God with all things. So anyway, he was dependent on God. So the man in Proverbs, that's good. So maybe we can talk about, communicating boundaries. No, we've already done that, I feel like. Yeah. Okay. So how about what does healthy Christian business stewardship look like? Running a profitable business that allows you to be more generous long-term results in turning the world upside down. So think about it in the long-term game. And that's the whole point of this. That's what we're talking about this whole podcast. This idea of turning the world upside down by the Lordship of Christ is a long game. It's not a tomorrow thing.
We're not going to have this done next decade.
Exactly. And I think you hit on the other points on that, on point number 4. So let's do some practical takeaways.
Yeah.
Let's do some application. So you've made it this far, Christian. You've even if you're not a business owner, I really do believe that you can use these applications in your own life.
Sure.
So questions to ask yourself before doing work for free. And this would, I think, extend to just giving away all your time. Like, don't just give away all your time because you have other people depending on you that deserve your time, that you have to give your time to. So questions to ask yourself before doing work for free. Am I doing this out of guilt or genuine generosity? That's 2 Corinthians 9:10. I think that's what it was. Yeah. And the second takeaway is this a sustainable practice for my business? And you can also extend that to your life. If you are going to every meeting or helping every single person in church every night of the week, but neglecting your family, that's not sustainable.
Right.
In the same way with your business, if you're giving away, half of your work, that's not sustainable.
Right.
Not sustainable.
And so sustainability, there are times when we can have a season of extreme generosity or something like that. I'm just bringing clarification.
No, I think this is good.
So I think at the time Nehemiah was called to lead people in building the walls of Jerusalem, that was non-sustainable. Like they could not have worked at that pace or given away that much effort at that pace for long.
Right.
They did it for
50 some days.
Yeah, something like that. So there could be a season like that, but they had a clear, this is what we're trying to get done. We're going to work generously, not necessarily give financially generously, but work generously to accomplish this mission.
Exactly.
So that's permissible. But again, we want to think sustainably, children's children.
Absolutely. And then the last one, I think this is a question that you should always think about as a husband and as a father. Will this hurt my ability to provide for my family? That should be, again, because we're thinking generations. So, so yeah, that's it. That's your application. That's your takeaway. Christian, hopefully that helps. If you're a Christian business owner, hopefully this helps you think through things. If there was maybe some stuff that we missed that you've dealt with, struggled with, come face to face, you should definitely comment below, because I want to think through it too. I kind of want to be prepared when those things arise in my life. So
Yeah. And we might end up doing another episode where we talk this out some more.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, anything else? We're good. Okay. Thanks for watching the 17:6 podcast, where we help you turn the world upside down by the Lordship of Christ. Like, subscribe, comment, check out our other episodes. Make sure you check out our whole episodes on Acts, because we finished that up and that was great. So if you wanted to take a trek through the book of Acts and understand kind of like this theme of turning the world upside down by the Lordship of Christ, definitely check out that series. So we'll see you on the next episode. Christian, God has given you specific gifts to turn the world upside down by the Lordship of Christ. Don't be like the man in the parable of the talents and bury it. Don't squander what God has given you. Realize the worth of your gifts in business. Realize we are to grow the kingdom of God with your skills. Use wisdom when selling. Use wisdom when helping. Use wisdom in generosity. You are honoring God by running a wise, profitable business rather than squandering away the skills He has blessed you with. So go and turn the world upside down by the Lordship of Christ.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of the 17:6 podcast, where we help you turn the world upside down by the Lordship of Christ. Please share, comment, like the video on whatever platform you've been viewing this on, and we'll see you next time.